Hey now everybody, Jamie here, and we're closing in on the end of 2019, which makes it the perfect time for me to give my top 10 favorite games that were released this year in 2019. Now, of course, I haven't played every single game that exists. My list is a mile long of games that I want to try that I haven't gotten to yet. But of all the games I've played this year, these are my favorite. So we're going to start the list off with one that was a huge surprise to me, had no idea what it was completely off my radar. So let's start off with ANOMALY. This is a game of hidden movement, and I think it really brings something kind of different to that whole space of games. This one is a one versus many hidden movement game, but every single person is hidden in the game. Even the players on the team are hidden from each other. It takes place on a space station. There's an anomaly character who's trying to feed off of the people that are living on the space station. And the space station inhabitants are trying to fight back against the anomaly and kill it. So, like I said, everybody is hidden from each other. And of course, you can talk to each other at the table. When you're talking to your teammates, you don't really want to let on too much information to the anomaly player because he'll know exactly where you are. And sometimes there's situations where you're like, all right, let's just throw caution in the wind. Let's talk. So I'm here, you're there, let's go. And that gives away a lot of information, but it might be at a key moment when you can all coordinate your strike. And this one's also very different because most games, it's a cat and mouse game. Someone's chasing somebody else. Well, in this one, it is a cat and cat game. Both sides are the hunter and the prey. The human players are trying to kill the anomaly. The anomaly is trying to feed off of the players, so it's back and forth. And I really like how the players have a shared hit point pool. So whenever somebody takes damage, the whole group takes damage as a whole. It's a really, really neat game. I was so surprised when I played it that I liked it so much. I think it brings something new to that whole zone of hidden movement style games. So please check out ANOMALY. I think you'll dig it. ABOMINATION, the heir of Frankenstein. I was waiting for a good while for this one to come out. This is one when I saw it announced, I was fired up to get a hold of this one because I love horror, I love Frankenstein, and I wanted a Euro game in that space, and this is exactly what I got. This is kind of sort of like a loose sequel to the book. You're not playing Frankenstein, you're playing different scientists where Frankenstein's creation has come to you and is forcing you to create another monster so he can have a companion. And you're doing that by robbing graves, going to the morgue and snatching bodies, going to the hospital, actually murdering people and using their body parts to piece together a monster. You have to build it from the muscle and the bones up to the flesh, and then you have to use electricity to animate the creature. And you're scoring victory points for all kinds of stuff, creating the monster as well as going to the university and giving lectures and also volunteering at the hospital. All sorts of different stuff gives you victory points. And this is just a really, really well done game with an awesome theme and beautiful artwork, beautifully horrific artwork. They pull no punches with the horribleness of the way this looks. It's very gruesome, but I really like the game. Now, it is a game that is different than a lot of Euro-style games in that there's some dice rolling, and you can mitigate that dice rolling, but that dice rolling can really have an effect on the overall of the game. And also it has a narrative aspect to it where you're reading from a book and telling stories and making choices, which many of those choices, it isn't obvious what the right answer is, and it could have a detrimental effect to your gameplay. So a lot of heavy Euro gamers might not like that aspect. But I think it fits a different niche. One day I want to play Le Havre, another day I want to play Abomination because I get a different feel off of both game experiences. So Abomination, the heir of Frankenstein, one of the best of the year. It's a really well done game. I love it. Babylonia. Rainer Knizia is a designer that's not often associated with very thematic Euro-style games, and this one fits right in with that. But I gotta tell you, it is all washed away when you play the game because it is fantastic. This game is kind of a hybrid of a Tigris and Euphrates style and a Through the Desert style, has both of those vibes. It's an ancient civilization game where you're trying to spread your civilization across the board via placing discs with various icons on them. And you're trying to surround cities to make those cities score. And then you score based on how many of the similar icons you have throughout your entire network across the board. So you're placing a lot of discs around the board, and your turns are really snappy. It's like you place 2 discs or a couple of discs on the board and that's it. But it's all about the very strategic and tactical placement of where those things are. You can surround ziggurats to also get player powers that no one else will have. Man, it is wonderful. It takes maybe 30 to 40 minutes to play a game. If you're playing kind of quick, I mean, you could have some AP in there and that'll take a little longer, but most games will take about 40 minutes to play. And boy, it's just a pleasurable experience. You have to think very hard about each move and the right moves and where to block people, where to focus your specific energies, and how to keep your network connected. Because if you split that network up and somebody goes right through the middle, it broke it in two, so that halves your scoring for a lot of different things. Wonderful game. Please check out Babylonia. If you're into that Reiner Knizia abstract style game, this one is right up your alley. Star Wars Outer Rim. So now we're to a very, very thematic game. And I gotta tell you, maybe second only to Star Wars Rebellion, this is the most Star Wars thematic board game I've ever played. But it takes place in the seedy underbelly of the smugglers and the bounty hunters. Something that's not really featured very often in a lot of different games and movies. And this one just does it so well. And there's a lot of deep cut characters in it, like some expanded universe type stuff that you don't see in a lot of other games. So it really kind of gives you a different vibe of the whole Star Wars world. You have to buy the right ship, and you gotta armor that ship and put weapons on it and different engines and all kinds of stuff. And then you crew the ship with all kinds of characters from the Star Wars world. And then you go out and you do dastardly deeds. You're smuggling, you're capturing bounties and delivering them certain places. You're assassinating people, all the while going through this little adventure deck and stuff like that. Man, it is just a wonderful experience. A lot of people say it's a little long, and I agree, it is a little long, but I enjoy the entire experience. I'm a person who likes to play a long game and really get immersed in everything. And this one is one that I feel like you can immerse yourself in the Star Wars world. And I also like how it changes up the history. It's like an alternate history of Star Wars. Like you can be Han Solo and be a bounty hunter who's chasing Chewbacca and assassinates him. Or you could be Boba Fett who hires Chewbacca to be on your crew. So you can make a lot of different things happen in the Star Wars world, and I really appreciate that. This one is a fantastic thematic romp through the Star Wars world. Black Rose War. I've always been a huge fan of the old school Wiz War game from Tom Jolly, but I always wanted like a bigger, more complex version of that. And then Black Rose War came along and gave me exactly what I want. You're still wizards, slinging spells, running through a labyrinth, raising monsters to attack each other. It's all of that, but it just has more to it. You can customize your spell book by going to different schools of magic. You can go necromancy, divination, destruction magic, illusion magic, and you can try to focus those different schools and build combos from those types of cards to be your own mage. And it also has a little bit of worker placement in a way, in that you move your wizard around and the different rooms in the labyrinth can activate and do certain actions for you. So it gives you those options as well. You're still attacking each other and killing each other, but in this one, you respawn back in your home room and come back out and join the battle again. So it really encourages you fighting each other because it's, no harm, no foul. Like I killed you, I got some points. Now you come back and you just keep going. So it's really, really well done. It's a real melee going on with just slinging spells all over the place. I love it. It might not be perfect on your first play because you don't know all the spells. Once you get into all those decks and you learn where those spells are and you learn how you can build good combos and what schools work together, well, that's when the game starts to get really good. And we've gotten to that point now and it's starting to get really fun. Black Rose War, excellent game. Detective City of Angels. Noir detective movies are fantastic, and this game gives you exactly that in probably the best way that I've ever experienced in a board game. It is so fun, and I love that this game is a one versus many game. There's one player who plays the game. He knows the mystery, he knows the characters, and he works those characters. All the other players are playing detectives competitively, trying to solve the mystery. So the other players come to you and ask questions about the suspect, the murder weapon, the locations, and you have a list of answers that you can give them. Some of them lies, some of them truth, and some of them half-truths. and you're trying to misdirect them as best as possible. And also, they can call you out on your bullshit, and that can have ramifications on the game. It is such a fun game. It is so engaging to get into this game and learn the mystery. And I enjoy it because you can play it multiple times. Once you play a scenario once, you can always then be the guy who runs the game because you need to know what it's about anyway. So some people might have a problem with that. Like, yeah, like I can never play if I've been the guy who knows the mystery because I already know it. So yeah, that could be a problem for some people, but I kind of dig it because I'm like, all right, I'll just be this guy and I'll watch you guys try to figure it out. And that's really exciting for me. Really, really, really like this game. I think it's super well done and gives me the perfect vibe of that noir detective game, just like an old-time movie with detectives running around LA fighting crime. I love it. DINOGENICS. Jurassic Park is hot right now in the board game space. There's games coming out all over the place that have this dinosaur park theme. But I gotta tell you, DINOGENICS is my favorite of the lot. Now, we'll start off by saying this one doesn't bring anything new to the table. This one's not a unique style game. It's like a lot of other things. It's got worker placement, it's got building walls to wall in your animals, dinosaurs, and it's got building buildings and stuff like that, just like every other Euro game that has been for the past 20 years. I gotta tell you, it does a really good job of everything that it does. I have fun playing this every single time. You get to pick the dinosaurs you want, you collect the cards, you play them to breed those dinosaurs, and then those dinosaurs can breed. You have to feed your carnivores, and you have to watch out for your carnivores breaking out of their enclosures and destroying your buildings and eating the people coming to your park to give you money. You get scandals for all of that different stuff, and you have to go to the marketing department and have them get rid of the scandals. It's just a great game. This is just a well-done game. It's not a super brain burner. It's just a fun experience. So this one also fits a niche in the whole Eurogame world where sometimes I want to play something super deep and heavy, like I want to play Through the Ages. But sometimes I just want to have a nice hour and a half where I play something that's challenging but isn't like a complete brain burner. This one fits that zone, and it gives me this amazing theme of Jurassic Park, and this one does the Jurassic Park theme absolutely the best. The other ones are good games, but this one hits the theme perfectly. DINOGENICS, great production, great game. Check it out. I love it. COLOMA. So this one was designed by Johnny Pack Canton, and I just learned about Johnny Pack this year, and I played most of his games so far: Hangtown, Fistful of Meeples, Sierra West, and now COLOMA. COLOMA is my absolute favorite of the lot. It's so well done. If you've ever played Hangtown, which I believe is his first game, this is sort of a revision of that one. The same basic mechanisms and style, but a better production and just better mechanisms in general. This is an old West game where you're taking your covered wagon out across the West and you're digging up gold nuggets and you're building buildings in the town and you're building bridges and all kinds of stuff like that. And you're looking out for the outlaws that come at the end of every round. It's got this wonderful rondel concept where everybody places their actions simultaneously. And if you're the only one in the space, you get a good action. If there's other people on your space with you, your action isn't quite as good. So you're trying to always play the other players and looking at what everybody's doing, what you're going to need to do, what's going to be the optimal move for me this turn. And you know they're doing it too, so they might be thinking the same thing and you end up on the same spot. But there's ways in this one to mitigate that by building buildings that if you're on the spaces with other players, you actually get benefits as well. This game is wonderful. It's a brain burner. It's rough. It is not easy. But it's really got some cool mechanisms and some cool ways that you can engineer the mechanisms of this game. Some great decisions. It's a beautiful production. I love this game. Johnny Pack's mind thinks in the absolute right way for me. I just adore this game. You gotta check out COLOMA. Dark Domains. Now this is a Euro game that has an absolutely fantastic theme. You are playing evil, horrible people in a fantasy world who are trying to take over the world, but you're doing it by masquerading as a nice guy until the time is right. So you start off and you're building nice farms and churches and nice general stores and all these different nice little places that everybody can be happy with. And when the time is right, you flip them all over to their evil side. When they become, a haunted house or an undead infested graveyard or something like that. And all these things turn into evil versions of them. And that's when you start generating the most points. So you're trying to build this engine up from the beginning of the game. And then when the time is right, you enact that engine by flipping everything over. But by doing that, you also attract the ire of the heroes that want to stop all the monsters and all of the evil places on the earth. So there's these heroes across the top of the board, and when they see evil places, they go to them and try to attack them and destroy them. So you could get your stuff destroyed. So when you flip over, you're going to score a lot of points, but you have to weigh, am I going to be able to fend off these heroes that are coming in? So you bring in monsters to protect your buildings and your lands, and you have to get the best ones to fend off all the most powerful heroes. It's basically a worker placement game. Other than that, you're going around, you're getting different resources, you're getting different magical components so that you can cast spells. There's spell cards you can cast. This game has got the perfect theme. And I'm telling you, we started off not liking it that much when we first played it. But the more we played it, the more we kind of understood that you need to be very aggressive with this game. You have to be take that carding your friends, and you have to be going for those evil buildings and taking the chance against those heroes. Because if you sit back and just play it safe, you're not going to score that many points by the end of the game. The players who take the risks are going to win because they're getting the most points, even though they get hit every now and then by those heroes. This game is wonderful. This game is so well designed and put together, and the production is stellar. Man, I've played this game so many times this year, and every single time I've loved it just as much as the last. Dark Domains, fantastic, fantastic game. Cthulhu, Death May Die. So I just played this one again last night, played 3 different games of this game, and before that, it was number 2 on my list. And now I've moved it up to number 1. Because I gotta tell you, this game is just a complete blast to play. And I didn't even have that high expectations. I backed it on Kickstarter because I was like, hey, it's Eric Lang, it's Rob Daviau, it's Cthulhu, it's got cool miniatures. This game is gonna be good. It'll be fine. But wow, when I started playing this game, I realized, boy, they're geniuses. Rob Daviau and Eric Lang are geniuses because they took this extremely simple concept of there's a ritual being performed. You have to disrupt that ritual, and then you have to kill the great old one. Disrupt the ritual, kill the great old one. That's what every single instance of this game is going to be. But by mixing the episode box, they give you an episode box, which is basically the scenario, and mixing it with a great old one box, that entire concept is completely different every single time. I'm telling you, it's like little episodes of a television show where it's basically the same thing every time, but somehow the sauce that they mix up for every one of those episodes makes it feel unique. It's like a little puzzle, but it's a dice fest. You're attacking monsters. Monsters are attacking you. You're discovering things. You're equipping shotguns and all kinds of cool stuff, and you're going around and you're kicking ass. I remember when Eric Lang said his goal with this game was that he wanted to make a game where you felt like you could kick ass against a great old one, as opposed to in most of these games, and of course Lovecraft's actual writings, you could never ever beat Cthulhu, ever. Like, you just can't. Well, in this game you can. That's sort of the concept. So it's a very tongue-in-cheek style version of Cthulhu. Some of the missions are actually kind of humorous. There's some funny things that happen in them, and the concepts are even very funny, which I think is also a refreshing change, because it's not silly, but it's just humorous. So it's very lighthearted. The whole thing is very lighthearted, but it's still an absolutely fantastic beat-em-up Cthulhu game. Man, I love it. And the attention to detail in all of these episodes is so wonderful. The discovery cards that you draw, they'll have little pieces of story that basically are a sentence or 2 sentences. And those cards will tie together throughout each one of the other discovery cards that pieces together a tiny little story that your mind makes bigger than it actually is. And none of that information means anything to the game. It just makes the game have flavor, and it makes the whole world feel bigger. And your mind will create the story naturally as you play. This game is just so much fun. This is the best Kickstarter backing I've ever done. I love this game, and I want to play it again right this minute. Like, it's still setting up. Behind the camera, it's all set up back there because we just played it last night. I'm looking at it, and I want to play with this game. It's so good. I can't say enough great things about Cthulhu, Death May Die. Find it and play it. You will like it. All right, gang, well, that is my top 10 favorite games from 2019. Like I said, I didn't play every single game, and there's a bunch of them out there that may have made this list if I got the chance to play them, but hopefully they'll happen in 2020. But these are the 10 best that I loved from this year. So I hope you found something in here that you can check out and play and enjoy yourself. And I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. We'll see you next year. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks so much, everybody. If you've enjoyed this video, please do us a giant favor by subscribing to the channel and clicking that wacky bell icon. If you're into board games, miniatures games, role-playing games, we have a bunch of audio podcasts you might enjoy. You can find those at thesecretcabal.com or on iTunes and Stitcher.